Hi students, this is Professor Vikrant Shah. I welcome you all in the second part of the Principles of Auditing. In the first part that I have uploaded on the YouTube, we have discussed regarding up to the types of the audit. We are beginning from the next onwards, and it is that is look at on your screen, it is audit process. So first of all, the audit process, what is that? The audit process is a well-defined methodology for organizing an audit and is adopted to accomplish audit objectives. So yesterday we have discussed the meaning, the definition, objective, as well as the various types of audit. Further that, the next part is what? That is the audit process. Means audit process is what? Where auditor is planning the work and after that auditor is going to audit the books of account. Therefore, the audit process is well-defined methodology for organizing an audit and is adopted to accomplish audit objective. Every successful audit is based on sound planning and in an atmosphere constructive environment and communication between the client and the auditor. We know audit is a process, and whenever there is any kind of process has to perform, has to complete, at that time there must be a concrete plan, there must be a sound plan. According to that, that process should be completed, and therefore the plan is prepared for the audit, and that plan is called as the audit process. Now the chart on your screen, it shows how the audit process is worked. So audit process, there are mainly three steps under that. First step is the planning, second step is the conduct of audit, and third step is the audit. Now one by one we have to briefly discuss all these three steps. So first of all, the step number one is audit planning. Means under that the proper plan of the audit is prepared. But to prepare that plan, auditor must consider some points, some necessary points. Under that first point comes, it is what scope of audit. So first of all, auditor has to decide the scope. Auditor has to decide the coverage of the work, how much work that auditor has to do regarding the process, regarding the completion of the audit. So first of all, that coverage auditor has to discuss, auditor has to set up the coverage, and that is called as the scope of the audit. So therefore, under the audit plan, the first thing is considered, that is what? That is the scope of audit. The next thing that auditor has to consider, that is knowledge of client business. In order to discharge the audit duty efficiently, the auditor needs to know his clients in detail. The following information about the client business helps him in his audit work. So now when auditor is formulating the plan for the conduction of the audit, at that time auditor has to gather sufficient knowledge about the client business. Which nature of business? What is the nature of business? Accounting system. What is the accounting system audited by the business organization? Auditor has the knowledge regarding that. Auditor must have the knowledge regarding that. Then internal control system operating in the business, which is the internal control system that is regulated by the client, that is implemented by the client, that auditor must have the knowledge regarding that. So in this way, auditor has to gather the knowledge about the client business. That is the second point. Then next point, and that is the most important point under the planning of the audit process, that is what? That is the audit program. Audit program is what? Audit program is the blueprint. Audit program is the blueprint about the work that auditor has to perform. That is called as the audit program. Some accounting thinkers, they have given there the definition of the audit program. What is that? An audit program is a detailed plan of auditing work to be performed, specifying the procedures to be followed in the verification of each item in the financial statement and giving the estimated time required. So it is what? It is the detailed plan about the auditing work that should be performed by the auditor, as well as it is the specification of the procedures that should be followed in the verification of each and every item that is recorded in the financial statement. So detailed plan regarding all these is called as the audit program. Then the second definition given by the Professor Taylor, according to him, an audit program is an outline of all procedures to be followed in order to arrive at an opinion concerning the client financial statement. Means what? It is the adoption of all the procedures that auditor has to complete for the verification, for the examination of the all financial statement of the client business. The outline, the plan of that is called as the audit program. So understood, all of you, what is the audit program? So audit program is what? It is the blueprint of the work of the audit that auditor has to perform in regarding the examination and verification of the financial records of the client business. Understood? Now there are some features of the audit program. First one, what? An audit program is prepared by an auditor for his guidance. So it is prepared by whom? Prepared by the auditor. And for what? To regarding the guidance while conducting the work of the auditor. Then it contains the various jobs to be undertaken by the auditor to conduct an audit. It states the procedures to be followed for preparing the job. Means this audit program is what? This audit program is the outline of the jobs that auditor has to undertake to complete the work of the audit. Okay, so it is the audit program. It is one of the features of the audit program. The next third one is what? It also states the time frame for each audit work along with the date of starting the work and date on which the work is to be accomplished. Means what? It is a certain kind of timetable that auditor has to follow while doing the work of the audit. It states a time frame for the particular work regarding the audit, that when that work should start and when that work should be completed. Okay, so it is a certain kind of timetable. And last one, the audit clerk performing the task has to sign after completion. It is necessary to ensure accountability that he is responsible for any mistake if discovered later. So audit work, in the work of the audit, number of transactions that auditor has to verify, examine. So single person, single auditor can't do this work. Therefore, what auditor is doing? Auditor is doing one thing. Auditor is recruiting clerk under his belt, and those clerks, they are also they are working as an assistants for the auditor, and they are doing the work on behalf of the auditor. So therefore, this audit program ensures what is the accountability as well as the responsibility of the audit clerks. Okay, so these are the various features of the audit program. The next one, that is the advantages of audit program. There are several advantages of the audit program. Number one is what? Work is completed. It ensures that all the work necessary for the audit has been done and nothing is omitted. What we discuss under the features of the audit program is what? It is the one of the kind of the timetable. It is the one of the kind of the timetable. Under that, all jobs has been stated properly with the time frame. Therefore, each and every kind of work is completed and nothing has been omitted. That is the first advantage. Then second, progress of work. An auditor can look into the audit program to assess the progress of work. Thus, he can ascertain what part of the work is done and what remains to be done. Means what? It is a certain set of guidelines for the auditors. It is under that all jobs are stated properly. Therefore, auditor can easily assess what is done and what has to be done. Okay, so means auditor, in the regular time intervals, auditor can assess progress of the work. Okay, under the audit program. The next one, distribution of work. Already I told you, audit is a very vast work. So auditor, a single person can't perform the work. Auditor recruited some assistant under his belt. With the help of the auditor can distribute all the works as well as accountability and responsibility amongst these clerks and assistants. That is the benefit of the audit program. And fixing responsibility, again, each assistant responsibility is fixed under the audit as per the audit program, and then that particular audit work is responsible to do that. Okay, charge of negligence. So again, if any kind of audit work, audit assistant, audit clerk, he doesn't complete any kind of work at that time, there is a charge of negligence for that particular clerk and assistant. Uniformity. Under the audit work, each and every kind of activity is conducted uniformly with the help of what? With the help of the audit program. Why? Because it is a certain kind of timetable. And last one is the final review. It facilitates the final review before the audit report is signed by the auditor. So in this way, these are the various advantages of the audit program. On the other hand, there are several disadvantages also. What are those? There are, however, certain disadvantages of an audit program. Number one is the mechanical. There is a danger that audit program may be followed mechanically year after year through some changes in the routine or internal check might have been introduced by the client. Already I told you it is certain kind of the timetable. So what happens there? Year after year, some same kind of timetable is followed by the auditor. So it becomes mechanical. Therefore, the change many a times the change is not possible in this kind of timetable. So it becomes a mechanical. Then loss of initiative. An efficient clerk may lose his initiative because he adheres to the program which has been fixed for him. He may not go beyond the assigned work and make suggestions to improve the efficiency of the audit. There is a possibility of the loss of initiative. Why? Suppose as per the audit program, the responsibility, accountability of clerk is fixed. Then strictly that clerk has to follow the program only. There is no chance for the new initiative, and due to therefore there is a loss of initiative. Rigidity. It is not a possible to change in the audit program as per the changing situation. Because why? Because it is already prepared, and suddenly if any situation is there, due to that change is necessary many a time, that the change is not followed under the program. That is again the difficulty. Shields shields for inefficient staff. Inefficient audit assistant may take shelter behind the audit program, defend his deficiency in the own work on the pretext of absence of a matter in the audit program. So it becomes a shield for inefficient staff also, because many staff they are performing their duty regularly, but some kind of staff they are not doing their duty regularly, and therefore this audit program becomes the shield for them. Okay. Then small concern. For small concern, audit program is not useful. Why? Because less numbers of transactions are there. Therefore, wherever the transactions are in the less number, at that time audit program is not important for or not beneficial for such kind of organization. Understood? So it is about the audit program. After audit program is prepared, the last step under the planning is what? Manpower planning. Manpower planning means what? Already I told you that auditor recruits clerks, assistants to do the various jobs of the audit work. Therefore, under the manpower planning, auditor has to identify how many clerks, how many assistants are required to do the job of the audit. That is called as the manpower. Understood? Therefore, under the audit process, the first step is what? That is the planning. Once the planning is completed, the next one, that is what? Conduct of audit. That is the second step. At this stage of the audit process, the auditor conducts the audit work through his assistant and controls and coordinates their work through supervision. So now, under this, actually auditor starts the work of the audit with the help of the assistant, as well as auditor is controlling and coordinating their work through the supervision. Okay. Before beginning the work, auditor should obtain. Now, before beginning the work, the auditor should obtain the proper information under that number one, a list of all the books maintained in the office. Okay. Names and specimen signature of the keepers of such books. Then the audited final accounts of the last audit and also the audit report. Then the names of the officers who are in charge of important objectives or departments of the organization, along with their duties, power, responsibilities, including their specimen signature. Then next, the name of the person whom he can approach for clarification of doubts. The next, a copy of the partnership agreement in the case of firms and memorandum of association articles of association, and copy of other important agreements and contracts in the case of companies. Okay, this kind of information auditor should gather. The process of conducting audit includes the following: creation of evidence, then audit control, then documentation, and finally the coordination. So first of all, there is an audit evidence. In the course of audit, the auditor must gather audit evidence and test them so that his opinion about the financial statement of concern can be based on those evidences. So whenever auditor is conducting the work of audit, at that time it is essential for auditor to gather the sufficient evidence. Why? Because auditor has to conduct the examination, and after that auditor has to state what is the opinion, what is his opinion about the financial statement. Therefore, for the examination point of view as well as for the expressing the statement, auditor must have the proper evidences in his or her hand, and therefore creation of evidences is necessary. Therefore auditor has to first of all collect all the sufficient evidences regarding the conduction of audit work. Understood? That is the number first one. The number second, examination. Okay. Now, after getting all sufficient evidences, auditor has to examine the various records, various financial records of the business organization. For that, auditor has to adopt two processes according to the scope of audit. First of all, audit in-depth means under that auditor has to check each and every transaction in detail. That is called as the audit in-depth. Whatever transactions are recorded, whatever records are maintained by the business organization, all those records auditor should check in detail each and every transaction verified by the auditor. That is called as what? Auditing in depth. And the next one is the test check. Instead of checking each and every transaction, auditor has to select representative transactions from the large number of similar transactions, and only those transactions are verified by the auditor. Means what? This is called as a test and check. Suppose there are 1,000 transactions related to the sales, 1,000 transactions related to the purchase. From those 1,000, auditor has to verify any 100 transactions on a sampling basis, and only those transactions verified by the auditor, and whatever auditor has observed from that remaining for remaining transaction, same observation implemented by the auditor. That is called as the test check. So these two methods auditor has to follow for the examination of books of accounts. Understood this? So in this way, these are the two methods. The next one, there is a audit notebook. Means that is the documentation. Auditor has to maintain the documentation, and for that audit notebook is the most important one. Okay, an audit notebook is maintained by auditing assistant. Who is maintain this? Auditing assistants maintain this. It is a systematic record of the queries made by the assistant and the replies received. It is a systematic record that the queries, those are arise to whom? To the assistant, and those queries they are forwarded to the auditor, and on that whatever reply given by the auditor, all that is maintained under the audit notebook. It may be in the form of register or may be a file of loose sheets. It is the kind of register or it is the kind of file of loose sheets. Okay. Now what are the contents of audit notebook? Which things are maintained under that? Number one, technical details of the business of the client. Number two, queries for which explanation and information have to be demanded. Number three, any matter which has to be discussed with the senior or with the auditor. And number four, totals or balances of certain books of account, bank reconciliation statement. The number five, points that are to be included in the audit report. The number six, frauds and errors found in the books during the course of audit. Number seven, important provisions in the articles of association or memorandum of association or partnership deal affecting the accounts and audit. Number eight, accounting method followed by the client. And number nine, the particulars of missing vouchers, the duplicates of which have to be obtained. Such such kind of records are maintained under the audit notebook. There are several advantages of audit notebook. Number one, what? Important information relating to the queries and their replies is preserved. It shows that the auditor was not negligent in his duty. Okay. So whatever the queries arise by the assistant as well as whatever reply received from the auditor, all those are recorded and properly preserved. It shows, it proves that all work is done by the auditor, nothing has been neglected. Okay. Then number second, that is the advantage of the audit notebook. Then next, number second, since the details of audit work done like totals of some accounts and balances of accounts, fraud, detail, etc. are noted in the audit notebook, the absence of clerk will not affect the continuity of audit work. So these audit assistants, they have maintained all kind of records, all kind of important balances of accounts as well as details regarding the frauds in audit notebook. Suppose in future that clerk is absent, so it won't affect on the continuity of the audit work. That is the benefit. And last one, it helps the auditor in the preparation of audit report. Finally, when audit report is prepared, at that time the information from the audit notebook is useful. So these are the advantages. Now disadvantages. The entries in the audit notebook should be clear, concise and complete, or else its purpose will be defeated. Further, an improperly maintained audit notebook may be taken as negligent or careless work. So when the entries are recorded in this audit notebook, those should be clear, concise as well as complete. If those are not clear, not complete, at that time it won't be useful for the auditor, as well as it should be maintained properly. If improper maintenance is there, again it is not useful for the auditor. That is only the disadvantage. Now next one, under the documentation, next one comes what? Audit working papers. Audit working papers constitute all documents prepared and obtained and retained by the auditors during the course of audit and conclusion. So the documents prepared by the auditor or obtained by the auditor and retained by the auditor with him during the course of audit, that is called as the audit working papers. Audit working paper contains essential facts about accounts so that the auditor may not have to go over the accounts of his client again in case he wants to refer them later. Means what? These are the essential facts. Suppose if auditor wants to refer again all the things, at that time there is no need to refer all the things. These audit working paper will be helpful for the auditor. Examples of audit working paper: audit program, working trial balance, schedule of debtors and creditors, detail of investment, fixed asset, etc. Current correspondence between auditor and bank, debtors, creditors, certificate recording, stock valuation, letters of confirmation, photocopies of documents, necessary documents, abstracts from the minute book, etc. These are the examples of audit working paper. What are the objective of this? To support the preparation of the audit report. Then to provide evidence in case of any suit against the auditor for negligence. So it is the defender for the auditor. To aid the auditor in conducting and supervising the audit. Then number 4, to enable the auditor to point out to the client the weakness of the internal control system, the inefficiency of the accounting system. And finally, the working papers helps the auditor to plan the audit for the succeeding year. So these are the various objectives. Then ownership of the audit working papers. What is about the ownership? The ownership of working papers belongs to the auditor. However, he may make copies of it and give it to the client if he wants. So ownership should belongs to auditor, and if client wants the copy, a auditor can make the copies of them and then forward to the client. The auditor's right to working paper is however limited by the principle of confidentiality, which prohibits the auditor from disclosing the information to others without the management's consent except when required by law. So the auditor's right on the working paper is limited. Why? Because there is a principle of the confidentiality that should not be violated by the auditor. Okay. And then retention of papers. The audit working papers can be retained by the auditor as long as he feels it would be useful in the audit work of the client. He may retain it for 10 years after submission of the audit report. So maximum of 10 years auditors can retain its audit control. A good audit plan has to be complemented by good audit control. We know audit is the process, and whenever this process is performed by the auditor, the proper controlling system should be implemented by the auditor. With this controlling system, auditor can have timely review of this, what is work has been done and what has to be do, and therefore auditor has to implement the proper audit control system. Okay, that is that. Then coordinating the work of other auditors. Okay, auditor has to coordinate the work of the other assistant. Auditor has to take the regular review of each and every assistant and clerk's work. And therefore, if they have any query regarding any situation, auditor has to guide them. Means auditor has to coordinate all their work, and then timely auditor has to perform the audit work. Documentation involves reducing in writing the audit matters, manner, and their proper upkeep. Proper documents should be maintained by the auditor, like audit notebook, working papers. These kind of documents should be prepared by the auditor, which will be useful for the auditor in preparation of the audit report and to express the opinion about the financial position of the business organization. Understood? And now the last step under the audit process is what? It is audit report. An audit report is a written opinion of an auditor concerning an entity's financial statement. The report is prepared in standard format as mandated by generally accepted auditing standards. So it is the final step under the audit process. After preparing planning, then auditor has to conduct the work of the audit, and then auditor has to prepare all the report regarding whatever things he got from the conduct of the audit. Okay, so it is the last step. So in this way, this is the process of the audit. The last point of this unit is internal control, internal check, and internal audit. These are the systems under the audit. So first of all, internal control. Internal control is the plan of organization and all methods and procedures adopted by the management of an entity to assist in achieving management objectives of ensuring as far as possible the efficient and orderly conduct of its business. So whenever any kind of function performed by the management, at that time there is a certain kind of objectives, and management is performing all the function to achieve some such objective. Therefore, for the achievement of such objective, the plan, the process that is implemented by the auditor, it is that is implemented by the management is called as the internal control system. And then there are several features of that. Internal control system is laid down by the management, it is prepared by the management. Then number second, it consists of various control procedures adopted by an organization in financial and non-financial area. It is the set of process which is adopted by the organization in financial as well as non-financial area. Then number three, internal control includes internal check system, internal audit, and other internal audit, internal check system, and other forms. These are the part of the internal control system. Then next one, safeguarding of assets of the organization includes safeguarding unauthorized use, limiting access, taking adequate insurance coverage, etc. Assets are safeguarded under the internal control system. Unauthorized use of those assets is avoided, limiting access of an asset is there, as well as taking adequate insurance coverage on that. And the aim of practicing internal control system is to ensure control over accounting and other administrative areas in order to achieve the objectives of the management. Understood? So in this way, it is about the internal control system. The next one, internal check. Internal check is one of the methods of internal control system applied to the accounting system of concern. So internal check is what? Internal check is related to the financial work, and that financial work is properly checked under the internal check. Internal check system is such an arrangement of the work of different clerks that the work of one person is automatically checked by another in the very course of processing and recording of the transaction. Thus, the possibility of error is minimized. So, it is what? It is the arrangement of the work that the work of one check is assessed by the another check. Due to this, automatically the errors are minimized. Okay, that is called as the internal check. So, as per the internal check, what are the objective? Division of work. Division properly, work is divided into a small task, and no one is allowed to do the whole work from the beginning to the end. As task wise, everyone has to perform the work. Then separation of custody and recording. A person who handles any asset like cash, goods, etc. is not allowed to record the transaction. For example, in bank, the cashier makes payments and enters in the rough cash checks. The officer authorizing the payment is different, who maintains the scroll of authorized payment. So the person who handles the asset, that person does not have the right to record a transaction regarding that another person is recording that. Means custody of the asset belongs to one person, and recording of transaction related to that asset belongs to another one. Job rotation. A clerk is not allowed to occupy a particular job for a long period. Policy of job rotation is adopted since familiarity with particular position offers greater chance to manipulate the system. So every time under that job is rotated. Okay. Authority level. There are clear-cut authority levels for giving sanction to various terms. And finally, accounting control. Various cross checks are introduced in internal check with regard to recording of accounting records. Okay. So these are the features as well as advantages. Now the last one, that is the internal audit. Internal audit is a part of the internal control system. According to the ICAI, internal audit is an independent management function which involves a continuous and critical appraisal of the function of the entity. The objective of internal audit is to suggest improvement to the function of the entity and add value to and strengthen the overall governance mechanism of the entity, including its strategic risk management and internal control system. Means internal audit is the independent management function which is adopted by the management. And what is the objective of this internal audit system? It suggests improvement in the functions of the management. Okay, and it is the part of the internal control system that is called as the internal audit. What are the features of this? Internal audit is a part of internal control system designed by the management. Then number second, it is an appraisal activity within an organization for the review of accounting, financial and other business practices. It is what? It is one of the kind of the appraisal activity. It is the review of accounting records, financial records as well as the other business practices. Okay. Then it is designed to protect the management. It is why it is designed? It is designed to protect the management. It is continuous review of operating activity by full-time employee of an organization who has expert knowledge of accounting. It is what? It is a continuous review of operating activity by a full-time employee, and who is the permanent employee of the management who has the expert knowledge regarding the accounting. Internal audit report is submitted to management of the client, and it is a continuous audit and one which is not compulsory. It is a continuous audit and which is not compulsory. Okay, understood? So in this way, it is the internal control, internal check and internal audit. So in this way, it is about the first unit of our TYBCOM auditing syllabus, that is the principles of auditing. In the first part, we have discussed the meaning, the definition, the objective, advantages and types of audit. And now today in second part, we discuss what is the audit process in detail, and then internal control, internal check, internal audit. Okay. I hope all you have understood all the points regarding the first unit, that is the principles of audit. In future, I will prepare the video. I will take the live lectures on the remaining topics of the audit. For that, stay tuned with me. Also, you can watch the video of the same lecture on my YouTube channel Vikrant Palatsha. Share, watch video on that, share that channel, uh, and also like all the videos on the channel. Okay, so uh, for the same thing, stay tuned with me right now. Goodbye. Stay at home, stay healthy, and most important, concentrate